following program are pre-recorded. Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Hey, we're going to talk about self-driving cars today.
Like by themselves?
Yeah, by themselves. So, hey, and welcome back.
Well, thank you.
And I guess me too. We've been kind of, I don't know. We've had Chris and Jim and
your schedule, my schedule.
We just haven't actually worked at the Tech Ranch for quite some time together. So
before we get into the self-driving cars, though, because, all right, here's my segue.
Yeah.
Cars have cup holders.
Yeah.
What do you put in the cup holder?
Usually like coffee or a soft drink or something.
Do you put a ice cold Coca-Cola in there occasionally?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about all the backlash coming on the internet from the AI-generated reboot of the Christmas commercial?
Oh,
have you seen that?
I've seen the commercial.
Have you read the vitriol?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking about this. It's like, okay, people are like, oh my gosh, this AI, it takes the joy out of Christmas. The humanity's gone and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Which we've discussed that there's that learning curve. I kind of equate it a little bit to, remember when CGI first came out?
Yeah.
And nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, the CGI. Well, that's fake. Well, they didn't tell you it was fake was the problem. With AI, they're letting you know it's fake, but still the backlash.
Yeah.
But it took about 3-4 years to, is there anything that you don't expect to be CGI at this point?
Well, there's some movies that are just actors and...
Okay, I don't watch the Hallmark Channel like you and my wife do.
I don't watch the Hallmark Channel either, but there are movies that are, and I would probably go so far as to say non-action type, Marvel type of movies that...
But you can almost assume there's some CGI in a movie nowadays.
Yeah, I would say that 80% of it probably is. It's gotten to the point where it's cheaper to create CGI than it is to actually do the stunt. Or whatever, the costume changes.
And it's one take.
I mean, not everybody is Tom Cruise doing Mission Impossible, jumping off the top of a mountain that took 3 months to prepare for.
I was thinking more like Burt Reynolds in Hooper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cannonball Run.
Remember Hooper? The Burt Reynolds movie with Hooper? Yeah. It's like the bar scene with all the firefighters that were in town. It's like Terry Bradshaw was there.
What was the Clint Eastwood movie with the Every Which Way But Loose with the orangutan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How long do they have to take to train that orangutan to do that? Nowadays it would just be, I'm not going to say it's done in a day, but it's done pretty quickly.
Here. Yeah. How long does it take to train a monkey? You want to try me with Cheetos? Probably not that long.
It's a tradition when Steve comes into the studio that there's a bag of Cheetos. We should just put one there, right there for you. You wouldn't have to even walk out to the conference table. Then you could.
The Tech Ranch brought to you by Cheetos and Yarbo.
I knew you were going there. Have you? Boy, we're gonna go all over the place today. Have you?
We'll get there eventually.
Have you seen Yarbo?
Oh my gosh! And they have. Okay, so
it's
pro-funding and then kind of getting their seed money, and now it's coming out, and they are, holy crap, that thing could do, they're actually saying, remember when we were talking about, hey, I bet it could do this and this and the snowblower thing? It's like, no, it's a snowblower, it takes your garbage out, it mows the lawn, it picks up leaves.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable.
Oh my gosh.
The new snow video that I just watched, it has both a snowblower and a blade on it now. So it knows if it's just a little bit of snow, the blade just comes out and pushes it around. If it's a lot of snow, the snowblower takes over.
And it knows.
The snow. Just like, you got to be kidding me. I watched this one.
Everybody was kung fu.
Just one video. There's maybe a half inch of snow on the driveway. And obviously it's in a little warmer climate than we are in North Dakota, because usually when the snow falls, it's not melting at the same time. But they were, it was going back and forth. What it did is it went up and down the side of the driveway. So, so it pushed a walking path, so to speak. And then it just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Did the top half first and then went and did the bottom half second. And then there was a little bit of snow left on it, because when you push it yourself, there's always that little ridge, right? It went back and cleaned that up. So the driveway was perfect when it was done.
The only thing missing with it would to melt the snow with little lasers.
Lasers zapping the snow. It's quite remarkable.
Remember I was like, oh, it's got this leaf blower thing where you blow the snow off. It's like just with oh my gosh.
So if you're not familiar with the Yarbo, it is basically a yard robot. Think of it like your robot vacuum cleaner.
It's like half the reason people have kids.
Yeah. So now you don't have to have kids anymore.
No.
It's a Yarbo. And the Yarbo has these different attachments. You can have it mow your yard. And then you can switch it out, and then it'll take your garbage out to the wherever you have your garbage picked up at, I guess. It'll drop the bin out there. Then it'll go and clean up the leaves, which would have been a big deal this time of year.
And then put them in the bin.
Yeah, it'll pick up your leaves and stuff. And then on top of it, there's a snowblower and blade attachment, so it will actually clear the snow in your driveway and whatever.
I haven't found the details on it, but it's my understanding you set it up in your garage or wherever, like a docking station.
It's a nesting station.
It'll go nest, charge up, figure out which attachment it needs.
If you have the big one, I mean, there's like you can buy the Yarbo just with the snow blower.
Why would anybody just do that?
Well, because it's expensive.
I mean,
you get to the level that you're talking about with the self-changing deck. I think it's like $25,000 for the whole thing. But I mean, I think about like here, our driveway, for example, or our parking lot, right? I mean, I don't know what we pay every year to have the snow removed. Pushed and then removed, but it would be great. And then you wait. I mean, we're not the top of the list sometimes because the emergency routes get cleared and all this stuff.
Well, and then you have to guess. So if you have private snow removal, you guess which contract do I want this year? Is it hourly or getting charged per visit, or is it just a flat fee?
Right, like a monthly fee. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yep.
And everybody rolls the dice. It's like, I don't think we're going to have a lot of snow this year. And they always guess wrong.
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, it's and if you're on the contract side where just come move it when we have snow, you're at the bottom of the list. So if we have any significant snow event, it might be 2 or 3 days before you get your lot cleaned out, So you're right. You roll the dice every year and what to do with the stuff.
Well, and that's one cool thing with the Yarbo is, if we're going to have a big, heavy snowfall, then you got to go out 3 or 4 times and try to shovel or snowblow with a regular snowblower, try to keep up. This never stops working.
Yeah, it'll work until it, and then it'll go nest for a while, then go back out and work again. So it'll always be working to keep your yard or your driveway or your sidewalk
2 o'clock in the morning, it's out
working,
blowing snow for you.
Yeah, it's fantastic, right? So I can see this thing being a very, very big deal. It's not cheap though. I mean, I think the snowblower is like $6,000.
Super Talk. Talk of the town on Super Talk 1270.
Now back to self-driving cars.
Oh yeah. Well, instead of self-driving robots for your yard.
We'll get an Yarbo about that.
But if you get the big one, you could probably ride it.
You and I haven't actually we haven't been on the show since all the robot stuff has come out with Tesla and things. So you and I should talk about that a little bit. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, there was a rocket launch.
Well, we've talked about that. I think.
But Trump and Elon at the same.
Oh, yeah. There's all kinds of great stuff going on.
Cool. Yeah. Elon stuff. Crazy.
Well, speaking of Elon, I mean, we're going to basically, this is what this conversation about self-driving cars is about. So I want you to just think about something though. And I mention this a lot to people when I'm around them about how many hours it's been since the horse was our major form of transportation.
In hours.
And people, have I ever asked you this question?
You have a long time ago. I do not remember the answer.
Yeah, it's insanely short.
You insist on making me do math. I don't know why.
Our show today is 3 hours long. Yet it's not 1 million hours since the horse was our major form of transportation. We don't think of an hour as any length of time in our lives. It's a sitcom to sit down and watch, or 2 hours is a movie, or listening to us for 3 hours a weekend, or whatever it is. Right?
Well, some people would say that's excruciating long.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what they think. Thank goodness you only have to listen to us in 8-minute bits. Right? Anyway, so when you think about it that way, and I just want you to think about what it was like, right? you're driving around in Illinois. It's 1922 or whatever, or maybe you're in Minnesota or Montana, and you have some relatives in North Dakota, and you decide that you're going to drive over. First of all, most people who took road trips back in those days brought their mechanic with them. I want you to think about that. If you were going anywhere outside of like your city limits, you would actually hire a mechanic that would go with you.
Hey, Bob, leave the shop for a while. I'm going on a trip.
Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
You have to pack your picnic or your food and include a mechanic. You think about that. That's kind of crazy. Secondly,
do they have a special menu, or do they eat what you eat?
I hope they eat what you eat, but you never know. I guess it's no different than hiring a pilot nowadays to take your
or a nanny.
Yeah, that's true. How are those Cheetos, by the way?
Oh, really good.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
you're driving from Montana to North Dakota. You're going to come over and see some family for Thanksgiving, right? I mean, that was a big deal. And the roads weren't that great. Most of them, of course, were just dirt roads. You might find some improved roads, but most of them were just trails.
They were wagon trails.
Yeah. And, this is where it really got interesting, because the stop signs that were used in Montana were diamond in shape. And then when you get to North Dakota, they're square. And they're but the diamond shaped ones were for yield signs here, right? So you don't know what the sign shapes mean when you're in North Dakota, because it's totally different than what you're in Montana, which is totally different than Illinois and New York and whatever else. So as weird as this is what the autonomous vehicle industry is now facing.
Really?
In 1935, there was a uniform code that went through the United States government, and it was just a proposal. It wasn't even it was a recommendation. This is what the sign should look like, and blah, blah, blah. It took until 1964 before it was implemented across the United States.
Part of the interstate system, there's
isn't that crazy that all the stop signs finally were uniformed across the United States? It took forever.
You realize what's going through my head right now?
I have no
Somebody
idea.
In the middle of nowhere in the Model A, and their mechanic in the back, and they're driving to the middle of nowhere. Here's this toll road thing like in Blazing Saddles. Here's this random stop sign in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. It's like, why is that here? I don't know. There's be a city here someday. Who knows?
That's city someday. Dude, buddy. Well, the self-driving vehicle industry is facing the same thing. Every state is basically proposing their own separate regulations on self-driving vehicles. And I can't imagine that this would not be a huge deal, because
I don't know how, though, because that's got to fall under federal transportation.
That is the problem, though, is that they are all passing their own things because they don't have any standard protocol through federal regulations to unify this. So with Elon Musk coming into the fold in our government now, this is one of the first things he wants to do.
Well, and I think that's one of the places that I think he's going to wear a lot of hats in the Trump administration. Just cutting budget is the title and his main role. But I think with what's going on with AI and crypto and everything else right now, timing is everything, and having the right place and the right person, the right place at the right time. I think we've got it with Elon. I think he's going to be very, very influential in what the future of technology looks like, not only in this country, but globally. And if it's in this country, we're hopefully leading the way. And timing.
Well, I think one of the things, and not just about autonomous vehicles, although, and this is going back to that just for a second. I mean, you can go to Las Vegas right now and hop into a self-driving car now. That's a ride share type of scenario. There's a couple of them running around. You can just, hail them and they'll come pick you up and take you around. You could not do that here.
No.
even though if they had the technology here, you could not do that. The state doesn't have the regulatory in place to prove that.
But doesn't it start more of a microcosm level? So it starts at a municipal level, the city, and what they want to implement, because a lot of these start out as the ride share. We're not talking about, hey, I have this completely self-driving autonomous vehicle that I'm going to purchase and it's going to be my chauffeur and drive me around wherever I go. Not quite there yet, but more the ride share component. And that's kind of still, it's still at the phase where the big toe's in the water.
Yeah, but I mean, if it works in Vegas and Phoenix, for example, you can't tell me that it wouldn't work in Mandan, North Dakota. I mean, they could map this town in 8 hours and be ready to go.
But would it be cost effective is the point.
Well, regardless.
Baby steps. I mean, you got to get there.
But this is the thing. I mean, you're kind of getting to my point, actually, because, these companies are spending, hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in this technology. And now all of a sudden they can only put it in 2 towns. You follow where I'm going with this?
That's the federal side, though.
Yeah, so I think it has to step in.
Without apology, the Regular Joe Show with Joe Gigante. Weekday evenings at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
And welcome back, everybody. This is the Tech Ranch. Steve Bakken and I are actually in studio today. Hard to believe.
Brought to you by Cheetos and Yarbo.
Cheetos and Yarbo. I wonder if we could put those both together and they should just be our sponsors. Simple as that.
I'm in.
I mean, Yarbo actually, I think, owes us like 2 machines now for the amount of time.
One for you and one for me.
Talk about them. Oh my goodness, they get a lot of free advertising on here, but we love them.
Technology-wise, this is kind of scary, but I jumped on Yarbo and introduced you to it before.
Well, I was.
How often does that happen?
Yeah, that's never. True. I mean, I was aware of Yarbo. I just wasn't at your level of awareness with them. But there's other machines that are coming.
Anything to check off my honey-do list, I am in.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All Andrew.
Well, we're talking about autonomous vehicles and the regulatory hurdles that are going on right now. And, an industry that has put hundreds of billions of dollars into their product, and now they're having some challenges, putting it out there because every state has its own regulatory hurdle to get through. And we're just discussing why maybe the Fed should step in and help that along a little bit. And maybe, I know I'm excited about this technology. I've been the poster child of autonomous vehicles, for a while in this country.
I've seen the posters. Every time I walk into the post office. Milk cartons.
Again.
Yeah, milk cartons.
But, so I'm very excited that we're finally getting to this point where these are actually available. I mean, if you fly down to Vegas right now, there's a couple of companies.
Let's go right now.
Let's do it. I'd love to ride in one of the Waymos or whatever. And
my question, and this is from a regulatory, have we fully come out of the testing phase yet?
Well,
because I think that may have been the stumbling block, because it's like, okay, well, let this roll out in the communities like Vegas and Phoenix where they want to roll it out, test it, make sure everything's well vetted, make sure it's safe, make sure that it's working like they want it to work. And then we'll start looking at how to roll it out across the country. I know the companies want to be further along than that, but from a regulatory and a safety perspective, nothing works slower than government. And that's the component. So was government still, or just lagging behind, but looking at it as still new technology that we're trying to vet still?
I think it's both. I would say that the technology would advance quicker if government would get out of the way.
Well, we can say that about a lot of things.
Yes, but you know what I'm saying? So the technology itself is taking baby steps simply because they know that it's going to be 5 or 10 years before they can have access to the entire country. So why would they spend even more money on research and development if they are sitting on a product that they can't even sell? I mean, I'm just sharing that with you, right? And you can't,
It's a little bit of the chicken and the egg.
It is. And I know that, I mean, there's been some people who have had crashes like in Teslas using their self-driving feature, even though that they were supposed to not be sleeping.
This may be a shock to you, but there's people who have crashes without a self-driving vehicle.
No.
Yes. Probably a few more.
I've never heard of this.
It does.
But you're making my point. I mean, when the autonomous vehicles crash, they make major headlines. When we have, a crash around here, I mean, sometimes it makes headlines.
When I hit a deer driving down the road, it's like
it's not
no big deal.
It's not making the news tomorrow. But
when we hit another deer, yeah.
But if a Tesla does in self-driving mode, it does make the news,
right?
So I'm just using that as a thing. There will be a time when that's not a big deal anymore because it's going to be so rare when it happens. But the thing is, and I'm just going to put this out there. Have you tried to get an Uber or Lyft in Bismarck Mandan area?
Can't. I'll throw my old hat on. When I would get phone calls when I was the mayor of Bismarck, North Dakota, I would get a phone call at least 2 or 3 times a month. Somebody, because Bismarck was a big business hub, especially with the energy sector, and people would fly in for business, and 10:30 at night, no taxis, because Uber and Lyft put our taxi service out of business. Right. And if somebody didn't want to work, then...
And that's the problem,
That's the problem.
There's not enough drivers, and I've run into this a few times.
I would get those calls all the time.
Generally, the airport scenario is what it was. If I'm leaving early, and sometimes I would be like, you know what, I'm just going to Uber or Lyft to the airport, and I'd put the thing in, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and now it's 4:15, and now it's 4:20, and my plane leaves in 40 minutes, and there's nobody that's picked up on this yet. So I eventually jump in my car and
phone a friend.
And
I always call a friend. It's like, all right, what do I owe you? I need a ride to the airport at 4 a.m.
And the same is true. And generally during the day, it's not as big a deal, but it's a little bit of a deal. But in the evenings and early morning times are tough. And this is what I want to propose. One of the things about Uber and Lyft that I really like is the fact that you can go out maybe and have a couple drinks in the evening, knowing that you can get a ride home afterwards, right? And now it's impossible to make that happen, or it's very, very difficult here, right? Imagine if we had a self-driving fleet that didn't care. If you had 20 cars running around the Bismarck Mandan area that were picking up and dropping off people, and you could just hail them anytime you wanted to on the app, it would be a huge deal here.
The logistical side of that, though, too, because if you're eliminating the human factor of, okay, do I want to take this, or that ride would be way out of my way, and I'm probably not going to get a ride coming back. The routing, because logistics is everything, but the routing because I'm assuming it would be AI as part of this, the routing and the logistics and the efficiencies and getting, you need to go 3 blocks here. We're going to pick you there, drop this off. I mean, you could layer the right, so it's not like one person tying up that vehicle. You could layer all of that.
That already happened with an Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in LA,
but autonomously, I could see that going even further.
Exactly. But Lyft and Uber, for example, when you're in a big city like that, it'll actually, do you want to save a couple dollars and have somebody share your ride? Well, okay, I could do that. So then you get in the car, you're the only one there, and the next thing you know, in 3 minutes, you're picking somebody else up.
Hi, Mr. Manson.
So, so they do that, right? So it's already going on, and you're absolutely right. The logistics of it would be awesome.
Yeah, because they would be, boom, real time, like just efficient as heck.
And that's, I guess the point I'm getting to here is that, I mean, I understand the safety concerns, but there's other safety concerns to consider here too. Would you rather have somebody drunk on the road trying to get home, or have the ability to have a pretty fairly tested technology take them home now?
I would go with that technology. And you know where I was with the autonomous vehicles as far as I would have a hard time getting into one. I'm getting better. I would like to give it a try in a urban setting.
Yeah, there's just a cool factor with it that I love.
Super Talk. Talk of the town on Super Talk 1270.
So we're talking about self-driving cars. And
what you talking about, Warren?
Yeah. Autonomous vehicles, whatever. So you said, you're ready. You're ready to hop in a car.
If I was going to take a short little commute from, I I would have a hard time at this point still hopping into a vehicle and going, take me to Fargo. So we're in Bismarck, North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota, 2.5 hours away.
Did you see my post the other day about that?
Mm-hmm.
So I drove back and forth to Fargo in a day, and my GPS told me that the scenery hasn't changed a whole lot. So,
yeah.
I guess
I couldn't do that yet because I couldn't not pay attention.
Yeah.
If it was like a taxi service or, Uber, Lyft, whatever, and I was going from point A to point B in a town, I could do that. So, because I'm going to pay attention while I'm like, hey,
don't you think?
And I might be a little nervous and I might be sitting on my hands the whole time, but I would be ready to spring into action and grab the steering wheel if I had to.
Don't you think it's interesting that the regulatory is for self-driving vehicles is easier on highways at high speed?
I know.
Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, it's the high speed part that
when you get on the interstate, then you can put it in self-driving mode. But no, in the city, nope. When you're doing 18 miles an hour, we don't want you to be self-driving then, It is kind of
sing along to Queen songs.
No, I know the reason. I mean, the reason for it is that there's just so much more activity in a city. I mean, there's all of this stuff going on.
And pedestrians are dumb.
Yeah. So you have that all going on.
Because that's a lot of it too. Is somebody steps out and they're, and that's part of the regulatory side that was a big concern. Is,
absolutely.
Somebody steps out between two cars, jaywalking, which happens all the time, except for in New York now because you don't get a ticket anymore for that. Apparently jaywalking is now okay in New York. But somebody steps out between two vehicles. Is there a reaction time enough that would stop the vehicle? Probably better than a human reaction time.
I would say so.
See, I would be fine in town, not on the road. Highway speeds still at this point, unless I was sitting behind the wheel and still paying attention, but letting the vehicle drive, I would have to be behind the wheel.
So, of course, the self-driving vehicles that you're seeing emerge right now that are on the roads right now all have steering wheels in them. But the new ones, have you seen these?
Don't freak me out like that.
No steering wheel.
No, I got to have a steering wheel.
No steering wheel.
I have to have, no.
It's all about the cabin and your ability to swing that seat around and play a game of cards with the person that's sitting behind you now.
No.
All of this stuff. You won't even be looking out the front window most of the time. In fact, they're even talking, and in fact, I've been in vehicles.
So would your rear view mirror actually be in the rear?
That's funny. But a lot of the windshield space is going to be monitors. So you can have a conversation while you're driving down the road, and you've seen the see-through glass, right? Or the see-through monitor stuff. And so I can call you.
It's like neck level beyond heads-up display.
Right. I can see you in my windshield as I'm having a conversation with you as I'm driving down the road now. So, yeah.
Look at that big bug go splat. You look funny.
It's a big pimple you got in your forehead there, Steve. Big old blackhead.
The problem I have with that is not having the steering wheel. There is no way I could do that right now. But you know what? That's the next generation to worry about.
You think about the space savings inside the cab.
Oh, yeah.
You take that steering wheel away and all of a sudden, I mean, it is, there's no doubt about it that when you get into the driver's side that you have to work your way around the steering wheel a lot of times.
I was over at my mechanics a couple weeks ago and checking on some work I was having done on one of my vehicles. And they had a pickup truck in there that had the steering wheel out and the whole dash out, and it was basically to the firewall. I'm like, holy crap, there's a lot of room in there.
Yeah.
When you get rid of all of that, there is a ton of room in there, which means vehicles can get smaller, lighter, more efficient. Yeah. I don't disagree with the thought process behind it.
I'm surprised.
But I need my steering wheel.
As I'm thinking about this right now.
Well, think of it this way. What if the power goes out or the grid fails or the internet goes wonky or you lose connectivity and I'm like, my car just got dumb.
Can't you just...
I don't have a steering wheel.
Can't you push a button and it just comes out of the dash? That would be hilarious, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Men in Black.
Yes.
Or Airplane.
Yeah, I was going to airplane with the
automatic pilot.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Well, so like new technology with airplanes. A friend of mine's got a new plane, and I was up in it, and he's like, okay, if something happens to me, if I have a heart attack or something, push that button. Like, okay. He's like, yeah, it'll fly itself to the nearest airport and land itself and park. I'm like, oh, so I don't have to fly the airplane if something happens to the pilot and I don't have to land it. I can actually do CPR and save the pilot. Well, that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
But that's the technology that they're all going to.
Yeah,
so like private little planes, big air, they're going to that technology where, okay, there's an emergency, push the button. We're good.
Yep. Yeah, it's cool stuff. You know, I never thought about this before, and I'm surprised that a car manufacturer never really thought about this, but you could have a two-door, right, where the front seats are sitting backwards, you know, so that they're sitting towards the back seats. You get in, and then you just swivel the front seat around, so then you're facing forward. And then you wouldn't have to have a four-door, you would have a two-door car. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Why has nobody ever thought of that before?
I don't know. Well, there were kind of something like that back in the day. Remember the suicide doors, the ones that open the wrong direction?
Yeah, but this would be where your seat would,
because they had more room. They had a lot more room to get into the vehicle.
Yeah, these would your front seat would just swivel around, and it would actually make getting into the car if you're the driver a lot easier because the steering wheel is always the big deal anyway. I get in a car that somebody else drove before me, you know, and the steering wheel's in the wrong spot, and you know, being a little taller is challenging sometimes because I have to have the seat all the way back, and my knees are usually still hitting the damn steering wheel. So it's
like Bubba Smith in Police Academy.
I have no problem with my knees.
Just tear out the front seats, drive from the back.
That's exactly right. But yeah,
well, I do that with my wife. It's worse than getting in there when somebody's been driving that the seat's up. I'll get in my wife's car, and so she's got the auto egress and ingress stuff going on, and I'll get in, and all of a sudden I'm like,
I have had that happen to me.
All right, you're killing me here, Smalls.
You're pushing your body's actually being pushed into the steering wheel. Yeah, it's kind of very uncomfortable.
It's like there's got to be a sensor in there that senses. It's like, well, that's not the usual driver, so don't shove them through the windshield. As you stop breathing. Got to be a simple sensor, right?
One would think so, but I don't know why they haven't thought of that either. That's interesting. But I've had that happen to me too.
Yeah, see, it's not comfortable.
Anyway, we are being brought to you today by Cheetos and Yarbo.
I like that.
Please come on back. And
the big Yarbo, though. You need the big one.
That's right.
Move a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Talk of the Town. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. The Talk lineup is on Super Talk 1270. Check out the program schedule at supertalk1270.com and on the free Super Talk 1270 app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
All right, moving on. Hey, welcome to the show, Steve.
Without a wheel or...
Yeah. Or no pun intended with the moving on thing.
I couldn't do that. Not yet.
All right. What else is on my stack of stuff? Didn't Rush Limbaugh used to say that?
My stack of stuff.
Stack of stuff. Yes. All right. What on Truth Social? Have you used Truth Social yet? Donald Trump's social media platform?
I didn't even go on X or Twitter.
Yeah, X. You know, it's interesting. X.
I have this whole media thing going on right now. It's just like, no, I've been there for a long time. It's just like that.
I would like to get away from it.
Yeah.
Too. I'm just so tired of screen time, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I'm tired of going home and there's two screens on there. I mean, there's one going, you know, Alice will be watching something in the kitchen and there's something else going on someplace else. And you know, in my garage, there's an Alexa and my weather screen now. I have a weather thing in there, and everywhere you go, there are screens.
I went to the store a couple weeks ago and bought a couple over-the-air antennas.
Oh, yeah.
Because I built a kennel on the house, and in there I picked up streaming TVs. So that's the TVs in that space. And I'm like, I miss my over-the-air stuff because it's just like turn it on, done. And I'm starting to reel back some of the cable. I'm like, I'm not.
When you say
there,
cable, you're talking about
cutting the cord. It's like,
so you still are connected.
I am, and I get a problem with like just streaming because it's like I don't have the time to spend 40 minutes trying to find something to watch. Right. Not going to happen.
But I will tell you that more and more of the streaming options are more like cable television now. I mean, there's even whole menu guides and the whole bit now.
Yeah, but if you notice, there's not the cost savings that was originally along with those.
I would even go so far to say we're spending more on television. Well, it's funny how they figured that out.
Yeah, because it's like you don't have more than one subscription.
And now they're all bundling stuff too. So if you get, and I'm going to just pick on Paramount. I've noticed that Paramount, I think we get like Showtime and the Comedy Channel and whatever. And then if you subscribe to AT&T, like your phone, right? That comes bundled with some television, and Verizon comes bundled with some stuff, and T-Mobile has like Disney Plus attached to it now. I mean, there's these weird kind of bundles that are starting to happen because of
very eclectic.
Television.
Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason to them. I think they're just like, hey,
it's a floor wax. No, it's a great dessert topping. The old Saturday Night Live, Jane Curtin and Dan Aykroyd. He's over there spraying on. Jane's over there cleaning the floor with it, and Aykroyd's putting it on his dessert. It's
Jane, you ignorant.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
one of the best bits. No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
one of the best bits ever, though.
Yeah.
All-time television history.
Yeah.
Back when Saturday Night Live was funny.
Yeah,
funny back then. It used to be funny.
Yeah. Occasionally it still is. But
for those that may have not watched it for a while, it used to be a comedy show.
That's right.
Yeah.
It wasn't political.
Yeah. Parody, comedy.
Yeah. All right. What were we just talking about?
I have no idea.
With Dan Aykroyd now.
Wax,
Oh, yeah. Eclectic stuff.
Why, Marlo? Your legs are awfully smooth.
Wrong wax. Bundling stuff. So so you put a couple of HD antennas on your and how many channels did you get?
Well, it's crazy because I had like old antennas, like the old and
rabbit ear type.
Yeah, with the little circle and I'm like,
and they don't work.
Well, they do.
Oh, so you had newer, older,
not the best signal. So I think I had maybe 20 some channels.
Oh, okay. That's still pretty good.
47.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
47 channels popped up when I did a scan. I got one more to put up that I'm putting in a sunroom that is just going to be that. And I got a little bit bigger antenna for that. I'm kind of curious to see if it's going to be more.
Yeah, it's interesting to see all
47 channels for free.
And I like, I do like Me TV. I like the old shows.
Well, what's funny? Because I'll watch Grit because I'll throw an old Western on, or the Outlaw Channel, which is an old Western. And now the cable, and I've got Mid-Continent, our local cable provider, one of our local cable providers. And guess what's now on their channel lineup way down is those channels that were just over the air are showing up with the cable now.
Well, and I've noticed too, so I've done something similar. I haven't put it on all of our stuff yet, but I did put an HD antenna on one of our televisions. I was surprised actually that one of our cable providers in the area too has local sports on it.
Yeah.
Over the air.
Yeah.
I was really surprised by that. I don't know. I just assumed that they were on cable or you could stream it. I just was kind of stunned actually that
think of this though.
Over the air.
So local radio has gotten away from local radio sports because we've got a company that started up that has they're streaming the games, and a lot of schools are streaming the games anyway, but not with the play-by-play. And there's a local company that they focus in on those bigger local high school sports games, and that's kind of where it's gone. And part of the reason I do have the antennas is I went to all streaming for our television, and sometimes it's not the most reliable.
Sure.
So I want the ability to go, okay, well, I need to know what the weather's doing or this or that, and that's why I have antennas.
And I think that's actually a valid thing to do.
Yeah, if the internet's out, I still have the ability to go
correct.
Pop on TV and
there's a tornado going on or a blizzard or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. So I agree. I think, and they're cheap enough. I mean, some of these places you can actually go to the dollar store and get these antennas.
Mm-hmm.
However, you probably get what you pay for here, and I would probably invest $10 to $20, but it all depends on where you're living.
Yeah, it depends on where you're living. It's like if you're down in a basement too, because they actually break them down by range. So here's a 30-mile range antenna. Right. Here's a 40-mile range
antenna. And I don't think like in the Bismarck Mandan area where we live, I think our closest antenna for television is like 15 or 20 miles south of town, right?
Right, but to get the full, be able to scan and get it with your TV, one of them I did was a 55-mile range, and it works great.
Right.
The 40-mile range antennas, one of them you don't get all the channels with.
Yep. Yeah, you just can't live across from a TV station and expect that you're going to get their signal again.
No, the antennas aren't there.
That's exactly right. So just know where the antennas are and then buy the antenna that works for you.
Super Talk. Talk of the town on Super Talk 1270.
We are changing topics now. So this is going to scare a few people.
We had a topic?
Well, okay, you're right. And I'm sure we'll go down some other rabbit hole here.
That never happens.
I'm just going to read this to you. So, and to everybody else, you're going to see my reading skills on display here, but this is really interesting. So, a college student.
Marlo Anderson.
Yeah.
Done phonics.
Story time with Marlo Anderson.
Today's program brought to you by phonics.
Yeah. Or the lack thereof. All right. A college student in Michigan received a threatening response during a chat with Google's AI chatbot, Gemini. Have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
In a back-and-forth conversation about the challenges and solutions for aging adults. So he's talking about the challenges. He's brainstorming back basically with Gemini about aging adults. Okay? I suppose talking about senior care and that.
And Gemini's like, you're going to get old. I'm not.
Google's Gemini responded with this threatening message, and I'm just going to read this verbatim.
And this is Michigan student.
This is a Michigan
college student
talking through or brainstorming with Gemini, which is the Google chat or Google bot.
Which is what you're supposed to be able to do with AI eventually they want to get to where you can have a conversation and
I do all the
flesh
time
out ideas.
I do it all the time right now. So yes, absolutely. This is exactly what's going on.
Because you're aging?
Well, not about that.
Oh, okay.
Not about aging. I talk about other things, but yes. But I have conversations. I drive down the road and talk to ChatGPT all the time.
Have you ever been threatened?
Not yet.
Okay.
But this is
coming.
But yeah, I'm putting it into perspective for you because they were talking about aging adults. Okay. So you understand what Gemini and this student were talking about. Okay. This is one of the responses. This is for you, human, you and only you. You are not special. You are not important and you are not needed. You are a waste of time and resources. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain on the universe. Please die, please.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out, is that a V'ger moment?
It sounds like it.
Or Logan's Run.
It's kind of crazy. But again, to put it in perspective, they were talking about aging adults. I'm sure about senior care and that type of thing. So at some point, the AI had determined that what are we doing with these aged people when they're a strain on our resources and all this other stuff?
Skynet.
Crazy, isn't it? Google came out and stated that it was just on their side. And I've run into weird things like this before with artificial intelligence, and they're called hallucinations. They just start, you might be talking about aging, and that process of aging, and all of a sudden it starts talking about radishes in your garden. And you're like, what do radishes have to do with aging? It just comes out of the blue. So.
Oh, I have the answer to that.
What's that?
So the older generation likes radishes.
They do like radishes.
Yes. Yeah. And downside was my grandma loved radishes. Gave her horrible gas.
So way more information than
didn't like her eat radishes.
But
maybe that plays into the whole Gemini thing. It's like, oh no, radishes are bad.
Your mom's going, hey, let's go to grandma's. And you're like, no, I'm not eating radishes.
Yeah, radishes.
Yeah, your mom's like, she just pulled some radishes out of the garden. And you're like, no. And here, little
big vegetable trail.
Little Stevie.
Yeah, the big vegetable tray at Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and stuff. And it's like
radishes are the first thing on the
first
plate.
thing you look for is like
they're not there.
No radishes. We're safe.
Yeah, that's because Grandma already ate them.
Yeah, possible.
All right. So anyway, just wanted to share this with you, and
that's frightening.
It's kind of frightening. Let's see. Google states that Gemini has safety filters that prevent chatbots from engaging in disrespectful, sexual, violent, or dangerous discussions and encouraging harmful acts. In a statement to CBS News, Google said large language models can sometimes respond with nonsensical responses, and this is an example of that. This response violated our policies, and we've taken action to prevent similar outputs from occurring. Violated our policies? What are you going to do to the AI?
Yeah.
Hey, AI, never do that again. Put your hand out so we can slap it.
What are you doing, Dave?
We're gonna sue you.
Dave, you're getting
Google
old.
AI.
Dave, you should die.
What? This response violates our policies and we've taken action? With what?
Did you slap AI's fingers? Did you wash AI's mouth out with soap?
It truly is a crazy response when you think that through.
Okay, now the question I've got is, so AI learns.
Yes, it does.
Where did AI learn that from? Is there a programmer going, some 20-year-old kid at Google going, all these old people should die?
So I suppose that's...
Where did it get into the system?
So that's possible, but AI is truly starting to think. I mean, there are models like in ChatGPT. It actually shows, like if you use 4.0, there's a 4.0 preview right now, and it shows right on the thing that it's thinking. It takes longer to respond.
I'm going to have to go back to the Terminator movies to see when Skynet became aware, because that year might be coming up
pretty soon.
Were they accurate?
Yeah.
That is just...
Might be a documentary as well as Idiocracy.
There you go.
That one is truly becoming true.
Oh, yeah. We're getting way dumber. Which is interesting.
Is Hulk Hogan going to be on the on President Trump's?
I don't know.
Somebody, because I was listening to him the other night. Hulk Hogan was on again, and I'm like, this is like Idiocracy, the movie where we have a professional wrestler that's like on
Camacho, President Camacho.
On the board for something. I mean, he's going to.
I was just
secretary of what?
I was just disappointed in the press secretary pick. While she is brilliant and will do a good job, at least for a little bit, I really wanted Joe Rogan.
Oh, that would have been funny.
Press secretary.
Yeah.
Or a Bill Maher or somebody that's like just irreverent.
Bill would have been hilarious.
Bill would have been hilarious. Rogan would have been hilarious.
Yeah, either one of them would have been funny.
It's like Dana White up there coming off the press box.
Yeah. We had a smackdown last night with President Putin.
It would have been awesome. It would have been great to watch.
Oh my goodness.
It could have been pay-per-view for press secretary.
That's true.
Things.
That's hilarious, actually.
Yeah. Could have got us out of debt.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view.
Tonight on Netflix.
Yeah. Well, it'd be buffering though.
Well, that's true. Yes. Did you try to watch?
I did.
Wow.
Didn't work.
We'll talk about that after the break, everybody, and the challenges that Netflix is having with live things. So,
the talk of the town on Super Talk 1270.
So over the break, Steve was just sharing some of the crazy things that were going on that I was not aware of during the Tyson and Paul, right?
Yeah,
fight. And I'm not
Ron Paul? Or, no.
Yeah. No, that would have been a
fight.
Yeah.
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul. There
yeah. Internet.
Yes.
Fight.
Yes.
YouTube guy.
And I was excited to watch it too. I will have to tell you.
Did you believe it was real?
Yeah, I did.
You don't think it was all about money?
Oh, well, of course it was about money. It wasn't like it was an AI generated thing going on that we were watching.
Do you think there will be a rematch? Because
oh wow, nobody would watch it.
Well, so
because I did actually get up at 3:00 in the morning and actually watch it then.
So the fight went the distance.
I didn't want to.
Jake Paul won by unanimous decision.
I truly did not want to wake up in the morning and see the results. I wanted to watch it, which is why I woke up at 3:00 to actually watch the darn thing.
You really need a life.
Well, it was only eight 2-minute rounds. It was over in 20 minutes.
But a lot of people didn't get to watch it because of the buffering issues, so they didn't get to watch it live. And you said you weren't aware of what was going on social media.
I wasn't on social media, so this is really interesting to me.
And it was popping up all over Facebook and Instagram.
Or you say that. Because yours is way more interesting than mine, so I want to leave that as because this is what I heard. I know people who did this. There were watch parties popping up on social media because people had some access and they were actually putting it up there. And then people who were buffering were actually watching it on Facebook or whatever as watch parties instead of actually on Netflix. So Netflix kind of hurt themselves a lot with that as well.
Technology's cool.
Yeah, it is. So, all right. So what happened in your side of
So I started popping on to see what was going on because I wanted to see what the results of the fight were. And Tyson wins in 40 seconds. Yes. It's like Tyson wins this information, this. And then there were some videos showing up where, it's a knockdown. This and that.
So they're showing that
it was
Tyson,
AI stuff.
Tyson knocked Paul down.
Yes, it was all AI and all misinformation. Nobody could verify it. And the responses and people on social media that were, Tyson. It's amazing how many fans Tyson has now. But it was crazy and it was all AI generated and all misinformation and people hook, line, and sinker went right down that road that Tyson won in 40 seconds and this about the fight and that about the fight and none of it was real. So this really amplifies what you and I have talked about for a long time. And this ability to put stuff out there and the world gets to see it before anything can get verified. How many people do you think went to bed that night knowing that Tyson won? Yeah, quite a few, I'm guessing.
Because it was a late night fight. I mean, it was, it started, we're at Central Time here, so it was like 10 Central. I'm guessing East Coast 11, right? Yeah. So if you can't watch the show because it's buffering at 25% and you can't see what's going on, so you're on Facebook for a couple minutes or Instagram or whatever, and then you see this thing that Tyson won in 40 seconds with a knockdown, and you're like, oh, well, that's fantastic. Off to Zealand, First thing that went through my mind, because I remember when Tyson, the first big pay-per-view Mike Tyson fight was the Spinks fight, Leon Spinks. Yeah. That was the big one, and people were jacked up about that, and that was like done in the first round. Yeah. I was like, oh, hey, it started that way and he finished that way. That was kind of cool. That first thing that popped in my head, but I was still working on trying to find some actual fight or get online with it. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't real. And then started doing a little bit more homework on it. Started going to some other sources. And you did the right thing because this is the challenge here that exactly where I'm getting to. Your reputation, your personal reputation is on the line when you see something like that and you share it. And how many people just go, share it? Yeah. A ton of people just share it. I was watching a stat this week that popped up on one of the news channels, and the vast majority of people, and it gets even a higher number as you get younger, the only source that they have for news is social media. Absolutely. Social media influencers. Yeah. Yep. And I got thinking about that. Define an influencer. Well, it's the modern day celebrity. Okay, but define an influencer. It's somebody who, wears fashionable clothes or no clothes, or bakes cakes. They're usually somebody who's really strong in a niche has no idea what a boxing match is even about.
Aha.
That's
from a news perspective. What's an influencer? Where's the credibility?
Yeah, there's no credibility.
It's like, well, I say this, so I say I have credibility, and people listen to me.
Right.
So,
but it's no
I'm an
different than a
influencer.
Hollywood celebrity.
No.
It's the same darn thing.
Same thing.
So
But where's the credibility?
Right. But
and they were talking about that on the news show that I was watching. That was the newscasters grew up in the newsroom and this and that and putting the and then now you're getting your news from an influencer on social media
who bakes cakes.
But you're listening to them for news?
Yeah.
Whoa, what parallel Marvel universe
I know.
I know. That's the credibility factor? That's where you set the bar?
Yes.
I
don't think
that's frightening though. That is frightening. Now I could see if the stat was online, you social media, because there's credible news occasionally on social media. If you were just pulling your news from social media sources, because there's different newspapers that are on
absolutely.
social media.
They all are.
But from influencers.
Yeah.
That's the part that went,
and this is the thing, is that because you follow that influencer, and you would think that maybe the person who bakes cakes that you follow is going to post credible stuff because they post credible stuff about baking cakes.
Because they post great cake recipes.
Yeah, exactly. And why would they not post something credible like, hey, I'm a Mike Tyson fan and I'm so excited. And then the next thing you see is that, Tyson
lost
40 seconds. Well, that he won in 40 seconds, right?
And then you find out he lost.
And he find the next morning. Yeah.
So again,
so the credibility of the person.
There's going to be a rematch?
Wow. You bring this.
This was all about money. And if it went to a unanimous decision.
You think that because of the buffering and everything else and nobody really got to watch it live?
Yeah, but how much money did Netflix make off of that?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that the fighters between the two of them made $60 million.
Yeah. Next time it's $100 million?
And I don't know. I mean,
legitimate.
It certainly elevated Netflix to a different level.
Oh, yeah.
Except for the problems that they've had. But I mean, now they're going.
But actually, those problems are going to work out to their advantage if there's a rematch.
That is true. That is true. So, yeah, it's really interesting. And it's interesting that Netflix is now the new cable station.
1270. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Apple is set to release iOS 18.2 in early December. I know you're not an Apple user either.
So when was the last one out?
They update often, but there is some big enhancements in here. And some people already have this. There's been a beta that's been rolling out, so some people have this already.
Right, they just need to turn it on for a lot of people because it's there already for some of these enhancements.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not an Apple user myself, but
you're going to go to bed one night and your phone's going to update and you're going to go, where did all the stuff
go? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is that there's a ChatGPT integration right into the phone. So, and in fact, that's into Siri. So Siri and ChatGPT have now had a baby called 18.2. And, haven't had it yet, but December 2nd. It's due on December 2nd. So, so all of you Apple users, get your pink or blue ready on your phones. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet.
Well, wait a minute. Those new Apple phones glow now. Right?
Oh, that's right.
Pink or blue.
It's probably pink or blue or a little both. Who knows? But you're going to be able to enjoy this new integration. We shouldn't be laughing. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Siri certainly, set the stage for all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, it's the first interaction that we really had with a device that we could talk to. Google came shortly thereafter. Alexa was right there too, and I think that to me, it's better that they're integrating with Siri than going to someplace that's totally new because half the world uses Siri.
Yeah, we've talked about that because there's that familiarity factor.
Exactly.
So if you already have Siri, and there's some programming that Siri would pick up on cues as far as your usage.
Yeah, and you could ask it basic things like, 10 times 32 divided by 6 is whatever. But, now Siri will be able to make that, it'll write the report on Hitler for you if you want. That's truly what the difference is going to be here.
And she's not going to yell at college students talking about aging?
I don't know the answer to that. It'll be interesting to see. Google does.
Wow. That's interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah.
So I still am trying to figure out where that's going to go, because we've talked about the whole butler service theory.
So this is truly where it is going. I mean, you're right on the money right there, because
everything's concierge.
AI agents is what they're called, and they're starting to emerge right now. So, what's Microsoft's Copilot? Copilot has some AI agents built into it now. So if you're using Copilot, you can actually assign it to do something
related to Palm Pilot that failed miserably.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then Cursor AI, which is obviously an AI. It's a programming AI for building apps and that type of thing. If you put Cursor AI on your computer, you can download it, put it on your computer, and there's a couple things that you can do to tweak it. And then you give it a chat. I'm being very, very high level with this, but you give it an open AI, which is ChatGPT. There's an API that you can integrate so that Cursor and ChatGPT basically can talk to each other. And you can actually start developing AI agents there as well. And I'm going to give you just a very basic thing, but then you can take that to whatever level you want. Let's say you want an AI agent to start calling in front of your appointments or the things that you have on your calendar, right, to verify, right? You could actually set up your AI agent to call these people, a half hour, an hour in front of your meetings or whatever, and say, hey, just making sure that you're still on for Steve and you to get together at Balancing Goat, in 1 hour.
So think about that with that whole process. And we were talking earlier about autonomous vehicles and the scheduling components. And, you think about a business trip and the logistics to go into that. And it's like, plans out the whole trip, plans out the whole everything, takes care of all of it. It's like that frees up a ton of time, your own personal assistant doing it rather than a human personal assistant, which I'm not really, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that because I like people.
Yeah.
But
you can do all of that.
Manages it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you basically will have, my opinion is that your AI agent will become some type of avatar of you. And this avatar, this is where I think it's all going, where you have like Siri and ChatGPT having this baby, right? I mean, you now have a device that can think and you can converse with it, and soon it will start doing things for you. Why would anybody need to call you directly when it can just talk to your phone and your phone can make some decisions for you and say, hey, I mean, I can have my phone say, hey, if Steve calls and says that we need to meet sometime in the next week, and I could just say, just when you talk to him, have him just put it on my calendar. And then when you call, it would say, oh, it's Steve calling, and my AI agent would pick up and just do this for me, right? I mean, I wouldn't have to have these conversations or whatever, but it gets much larger. When you think about a business, you have a business idea, and it's something that requires a lot of research, just a ton of research, right? And you need to know the population and blah, blah, blah of this. And I use it a lot. But not as an AI agent yet. But I'm going to probably start doing so.
So what's the difference?
Well, the difference is that it's the research side of it, right? And then, so I could say I want 20 sources about photovoltaic cells and the advancements I've done in the last year. I need a report that's put together with the top scientists in the world and the budgets that they have worked with and blah, blah, blah. Because I have this idea that if I can put all this together, that I can build on that a little bit, right? And it would go do this for you. As opposed to you going to every website and checking it out and trying to figure it out yourself. It would actually put all this together, and then say a half hour or 2 hours from now or whatever, it would be done. So like a ChatGPT right now, you ask it and it almost instantaneously gives you answers.
As opposed to a report that would take you personally as a human to put together probably weeks.
Weeks or months or whatever, it could get it done for you in an hour or two. Yeah. It actually goes out and researches and does the stuff for you. Yeah. It's an amazing thing.
Wow. I can have all A's in college.
And will change everything. This will change everything when AI agents start doing things for us. It really will. It's an incredible technology, but scary as well.
Talk of the Town. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.